Hello crafty friends, it's Diane with Bean Street Paper, and today I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel for the first installment of Scrap Bin Saturday. If you are a member of my Facebook or MeWe group called Caffeine Fueled Chaos for Card Makers, you know that we're concentrating this year on bashing our stash. If you're not a member, I'm going to post the links down below. You can join on either platform, it's the same. But every day there's a prompt for you to create something, and this year we're really concentrating on using what we have. So the idea for this video came about because when I was straightening up my craft shed, I realized just how much stuff I have that I have never touched, ever. I have rubber stamps from 2002 that I've mounted but never used. Like, they never touched ink. So I said, self, we're focusing this year on using what we've got. Why not take once a week, pick a stamp set that you've never used, and see how many cards you can create with it. Now, if you get through the year and you haven't used the stamp set, then maybe it's time to get rid of it. If at the end of the year there are still stamp sets that have still never seen ink, you might need to get rid of them. So, the guidelines I set for myself is one stamp set, and in addition to that, I want to use papers from my scrap bin. So, this very first video, I created these cards at work. So I have two different scrap bins. I have one out here in my she shed, and then I have one at work that at the coffee shop that has different papers in it. So I was going to show you a picture of my scrap bin here, and then I was like, well, none of these papers are in it, so that's kind of pointless. But first, this is the very first card. First, let me show you what stamp set I chose. I chose this stamp set. It is called God's Beauty. It is a set of 4 stamps. Okay, so there's a butterfly, a flower, some leaves, and a sentiment that says, "Beauty is God's handwriting," which is a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now, in addition to that, I pulled this stamp that I also liked, that I thought went with the butterfly, that says, "Every day holds the possibility of a miracle." So I did add a stamp, but all the cards use this stamp set. So this is the very first card I made, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is to just pull stuff from your scrap bin and make a card with it. The card bases are not from the scrap bin, obviously. They are either craft paper or white paper, and I just buy a ream and do that. But all these the green was a scrap. This blue paper, if you probably can't see it on the video, but it has a pattern to it. It was just a piece of really pretty patterned paper. This polka dot paper was a Christmas scrap. So what I did is, and I've already gone and pre-punched and pre-stamped and pre-cut all these pieces, was I pulled out my piece of Christmas paper and decided, I like that. It goes with the butterfly, right? So my card base is an A2 size, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And my whole goal here was not to create these elaborate cards, just to use up scraps. Okay? So I've put on my polka dot paper. I'm just going to trim the edges. Obviously, I didn't cut this piece. Okay. Now, the other thing I used an ink pad, obviously, and I used these 2 very cheap watercolor pencils. and I used those to color in my butterfly, which I've already done. I didn't even add water, I just colored them with a colored pencil. So I'm gonna fussy cut this guy out. I have a little bit of fussy cutting here to do, so I'm not going to limit myself to tools. Like if I want to use a die cut, I'm going to use a die cut or a punch or whatever. I just don't want to really cut into any new paper to do any of these cards. The goal is to eliminate a lot of my scrap, and I work hard on that during the week. I'm sorry, I work hard on that on the weekend, but during the week while I'm creating cards, not with scraps, I'm still adding to my scrap bin. So it's kind of like a never-ending battle, but we'll see how it goes. So again, I'm just gonna die cut my butterfly. Now, I did want to try to use every stamp in the set at least one time. I have a butterfly stamp that has a die that would make this a whole lot easier. But again, it was all about using things that I've never touched. So that was my little challenge to myself this time. And every week I'm going to pick another stamp set and see what I can come up with, see how many cards I can create. So I haven't told you yet. Tell me how many cards you think I've made using this stamp set. I'm going to cut out these little flowers next. So see, you can see on here that this was just a scrap of pattern paper that I had laying around in my scrap bin. Now, I don't keep, if it's super tiny, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before, I judge all my scraps by this punch right here. If I can't punch a butterfly out of the scrap, I don't keep it. It goes in the garbage. There's no point keeping it. I can't make an embellishment out of it. It's just too small. So I would say probably 1 inch by 1 inch is my keep. Now, if it's 1 inch by 1 inch, I'll probably go ahead and punch a butterfly out of it and then just throw out the rest of the scrap. That way I have a little stash of embellishments ready to go. So if you are a part of my Facebook group or MeWe group, so like I said, there's a little creative prompt every day for you to use as a jumping off point to create something. It's February 11th. Our prompt was, gosh, I just put myself on the spot and I can't remember. Oh, use a sticker. Create a card using a sticker. I don't use stickers a lot, so that was really a challenge for me. I have stickers, but I don't like to use a lot of them because they have that white border, and I don't care for that. So I don't use them a lot. So I forced myself to, do something outside of my comfort zone today. We have done a lot of Valentine's Day cards this week. We did a masculine Valentine's Day card. We did a non-traditional color Valentine's Day card. We did stripes. So there's just, many different. It's not a very strict prompt, like, use a piece of purple cardstock and a piece of pink cardstock and a stamp that has a dog. It's just a general, easy prompt. And everybody seems to enjoy it. There's a ton of creative cards. So even if you aren't going to use the prompts to create, you probably can check out the cards that are created and get tons of ideas. There's some really, really creative people, way more creative than me. So again, I'm just fussy cutting the last of my leaves here. Doesn't have to be perfect. I even cut off the stem. I think I'll keep the stem on this one. So this was super fun. This was a super fun challenge for me to challenge myself. Now, if you have a stamp set that you just are totally stumped on and you want to try to play Stump the Chump with me and send it to me for one of my Scrap Bin Saturday videos, I will be glad to see what I can create with your stamp set, and I will send it back. So I will put the address to send those to down below, and of course I don't even know what I have here, so I may have it, but again, I would love to challenge myself. Okay, so I have all my pieces fussy cut now. And I'm just going to use my Barely Art glue. Again, if you haven't tried this glue, it is comparable to Art Glitter glue, but you can order it any time of the year because it does not freeze. It is amazing. And this fine tip applicator is thebomb.com. It's fantastic glue. Okay. So, I am just gonna basically kind of do the same thing, I guess. Piece this on here. There's no real, method to my madness. I'm just kind of piecing it together. Now, I did, use dimensional adhesive for my flowers. So I do have two super tiny dimensional adhesives here that I'm gonna put on the back of these flowers. I am going to put my butterfly down first, though. Okay, so I got my dimensional adhesives on my flowers. I want to fold him up a little bit so he has a little bit of dimension. I'm going to probably put him right about... Let's put him going this way. I put the other one going the other way. So I'm just going to load him up with glue. Okay. Set him there. And then I am going to take my flowers, and I know I've probably mentioned this before, even if I use these dimensionals, I put wet glue on there. And the reason I do that is because it gives me a second to kind of position it. Before it's stuck down, if that makes sense. Move this guy. Let me just... Okay. My second flower. Maybe here? I like that. All right. Now, on this card, I used just a touch of stickles, which also I dug out of the dusty archives because I never use stickles anymore. I have probably every color stickle ever created, but I never use them anymore. But since they are way over there, I'm going to use these rhinestones. I'm just going to put a little touch of glue. They are self-adhesive rhinestones, but when mailing things, I like to make sure they are not going to come apart. So I think I'll use the orange rhinestones. Oops. See, and that's why I put glue on there. The little adhesive piece came off, so I'm just gonna drop this guy in this glue. Maybe. Maybe I'll put it on this one. I can get my big fat fingers out of the way. I'll put it on this one on the side. Maybe it'll be easier. Yeah. All right. And then I'll put this one on here. And then the very last thing I need to do after I put my pin in my glue so it doesn't, good for Pete's sake, dry out, is stamp a sentiment. And I think this time I did Every Day Holds the Possibility of a Miracle, which was the spare stamp that I added. I think I'm gonna do Beauty is God's Handwriting. Now, I used brown ink for the last one, so I believe I will use brown ink for this one. Just gonna get my archival coffee ink out. And if I remember correctly, this is slightly crooked. I think it needs to go this way a little bit. All right, and there you have it. There is card number 1 and card number 2. Okay, so my question was, how many cards do you think I got from this stamp set? And the answer, I'm going to show you now. So I got these 2, which are very similar. So 1 and 2. And then here is the rest of the cards. Number 3, it's just a bunch of butterflies stamped, one colored and popped up on dimensional adhesive, and a couple rhinestones. And then I stamped Every Day Holds the Possibility of a Miracle. These are great multi-purpose cards. You can really use them for everything. So that's number 3. This is number 4, a little note of thanks. Cardstock and paper from my scrap bin, of scraps of green and red on this one, and I stamped it. Oh, I did add this stamp too. This was on my desk at work. A little note of thanks. So I did add that stamp also. Okay, so that's 4. This is number 5. I loved this paper. I've been staring at it on my desk in the scrap bin for weeks, and I just thought this butterfly went really, really, really well with it. So this is number 5. Again, I stamped Beauty is God's Handwriting, and I put a little scrap of the gold and rose paper in there. Okay, this is number 6. No butterfly, but I used the flower and stamped it many, many times. And then I popped a few up on Pop Dots, and on the ones that I popped up, I added stickles and stamped with Beauty is God's Handwriting. Okay, so that's 5. Number 6, same thing pretty much. I stamped with leaves, used scraps of green and the butterfly, and again stamped with Beauty is God's Handwriting. So that is number 7. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's another beautiful scrap of paper. I used a ton of those flowers using that blue scrap and just ran a strip of really pretty gold foiled paper and used the Everyday Holds the Possibility of a Miracle stamp, and then I punched it out with a punch. Okay, so that's 8, and this is number 9. This is a little different for me. It's literally scraps I tore out of paper. Another scrap of pink paper that I stamped the flower on and accented with stickles. I did the butterfly. This is a scrap. So it's just a bunch of scraps. I love this blue scrap. I like that it had like a text on it. And then I just used a happy birthday stamp. So that's number 9. So I created 9 cards out of Godspeedy stamp set. I probably could have kept going, but I ran out of time. So just think outside the box. Create your cards. They don't have to be super extravagant. These are not super extravagant cards. It just goes to show how little you need to make cards. You need stamps, 1 stamp set, and some ink. I could fancy these up a little bit by glittering the butterfly, but I didn't want to do that. So now I have a stack of cards ready to go if I need them for an occasion. This thanks one is my favorite, I think. I don't know, I like this one too. So tell me which card is your favorite in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I look forward to doing more Scrap Bin Saturday challenges with y'all. I hope you all are safe and warm, and I don't know what the weather is like where you are. Right now it's pouring outside and probably about 40 degrees. So just snuggle down crafting. Have a great crafty day, everybody. Good night.